Welcome to EnTrench, a 21 Pilots podcast. Hello, local dreamers. Welcome to EnTrench. My name is Annah, and this is episode 53, the Fairly Local music video. Make sure you watch the video beforehand and are ready for an in-depth analysis. Today, I'm joined once again by my sweet friend, Lexy.
Hi.
Hello. How's your week going?
It's pretty good. A little crazy, like we were talking about before the episode,
Yeah.
But I'm excited to be here. I was looking forward to this. So, all in all, it's been a good week.
Good. Me and Lexy are kind of getting our footing as we remember what we wrote down, because it's been... we got here, but it took us a minute to get here.
Yes, it was... We rescheduled probably 5 times. I feel like that's just adult life. It's
Yeah,
like, let me just push you back. Yeah, but we made it. It's fine.
Let me push you back 5 business days. But going into the background of the video, also, wait, pause. Has anything happened online? Because I haven't been online.
Not from the band. What I will say, Jenna posted she posted on her Instagram story today just like videos and pictures of the girls.
Oh.
Of Rosie and is it June or Junie? Junie, yeah.
Yeah.
So she was posting stuff of them, just kind of like a little recap of what they went
I
through. So I thought that was cute.
In so long. How
I know,
old is
she's
she?
big. I have no idea.
Does she look more and more like Tyler every day?
Yes. Rosie looks just like Tyler, though. It trips me
Really?
out, because she's blonde like Jenna,
Yeah.
but like her face is Tyler.
I could see it. That's wild, though. Like, how much a child could grow in like a month.
I
Especially
know.
a baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I wonder...
no updates from the band, I think. Just like family updates, which I'm like, I'll take it. It's cute.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious if they would have more children, but who knows?
I know.
Me, like, I'm one of 4, so I hope they have 4 children.
Aw, that's cute. I'm one of 2.
Oh, okay. You're like, I'm all set.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I feel like everyone has their biases from their upbringing.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, so the background to the video, it was released on March 16th, 2015, which was the day before the single was released, which I thought was interesting. I feel like most are not, or they're at least released simultaneously.
Mm-hmm.
So fun fact. And the video has over 169 million views, which is wild. Especially because I feel like it's pretty bare bones.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So we'll be doing our best to pull as much as we can out of it, but we'll be stretching a little bit.
It was so funny. When I was prepping for this, I was picking up on every little thing. I was like, oh my gosh, that's important. And I'm like, is it though?
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'm sure we'll get a
We're
lot out of it.
Delulu over here now.
And you and me especially, like, we're like, that's
Yeah.
a metaphor for this. Like, we make those connections.
We were trained for this.
And I bet Tyler and Josh would be like, no, we just thought it looked cool. It's literally the only reason.
Exactly. I'm always curious, like, what their reactions would be to our analysis.
Because you go deep. You go really deep into it.
I remember Laura was, like, telling me one time, she's like, some of the things you pulled out, I've never even thought of before. I was like, wow. Like, to me, it's like, yeah, that's just what I think of all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So interesting. But how do we want to jump in?
I mean, it's up to you.
Cannonball.
Yeah, we'll
I
just
was
go
going for
it.
type of jump. I'm just kidding. So we're going to cannonball into the beginning of the video.
Yes, we are.
Any thoughts on the beginning? I just have kind of like notes prior to verse 1.
Okay, yeah, I had, well, I thought it was interesting that they start back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And that Josh leaves through the door, goes to the drums, and Tyler stays in the hallway. So they start, like, together, and then they separate.
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly that means, but I noticed it.
Yeah. I also noticed that Josh is also masked along with that, and I kind of wonder if either he's like staying warm because we quickly see that there's snow everywhere, or I wonder if it's even possibly helping him breathe, like maybe there's something toxic around. And yeah, he leaves Tyler, which I kind of thought was like isolation. Like a lot of their narratives, I feel like, are very much around like Tyler having to figure something out that kind of makes him feel alone. So I thought that made kind of some sense. And then I noted that they're in a snowy, dark house. And just given like the lyrics that we will continue to see, I kind of wondered if it was like he's kind of in a cold place. They're both in a cold place, similar to like depression or darkness, that kind of thing. Because there's not any like lighting in the house either, just like outdoor lighting.
Yes, coming through the windows.
But then I also noted before he started playing, Josh removed his mask. So I don't know if that's like maybe at that point he's breathing in the toxicity, and kind of that tie to Blurryface is going to like start coming into the lyrics and the narrative of the song. I just like kind of figuring out like how Josh's side can play into the narrative as well, because it can easily get overlooked.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think what you were talking about, how it's typical in their videos that they end up separating and Tyler's figuring something out, and Josh is kind of like that steady presence, especially with the drums. Like, that was what I noticed with this video, is that Tyler's, you know, walking around, he's wandering, he's like battling, and Josh is just playing the drums. And I'm sure we'll get to it where the drums start flying away.
Well, in that way, it's kind of similar to the Heavy Duty Soul music video.
Where the car's falling apart.
Yeah. And Josh is the steadiness. Oh, that's like the metaphor of the album, maybe. Wait, can you say that again? Your audio went in and out.
Oh, yeah. I was just saying that it also connects to Trench. Like with Josh being that steady presence, you know, with the torch, with everything.
Good foreshadowing of Trench. Did you have any other notes, or should we go into verse 1?
No, we can go into verse 1.
Okay. I mainly just said in this section prior to the pre-chorus, Tyler reaches out to the camera at one point, which, again, it's been a while, so I can't remember, like, the specific visual, but I wrote that he was maybe trying to find connection, and, like, it seems like he's speaking directly to the camera a lot throughout the video.
Yeah, and I know, because I think it has the chorus and then that first verse. I know, like, in the chorus, because what I noticed with this video is, like, usually there is a window, either, like, there is a big window in the room where Josh is playing, but also in that hallway that Tyler's in, there's one window on one side. And when he's singing just that first chorus, you can't see the window, like, he's kind of facing it, and so the hallway is just dark. And there's no light coming through. But then when the first verse starts, like, it, you know, it's dark, and then eventually it goes into, like, that window showing up. And I think for me, because, like, the kind of, like, the thread that I was tracing throughout this video is, like, I think that, and I think, too, Fairly Local, just as a song, it really reminds me a lot of, like, temptation, turning away from it, repentance, but also kind of just becoming a Christian, like, hey, I've been there, I know what, like, the world has to offer, I'm fairly local, I've been around, but then I'm deciding to turn away and kind of, like, do something different and follow Jesus instead. And to me, the window kind of represented, like, the Holy Spirit, the light, kind of, like, cutting through the dark and kind of pulling him in the right direction versus the wrong direction. So I really noted, like, when it was dark and when there was a window.
That's awesome. I didn't even track that. Did you feel like there was a trend with the window of, like, positive versus negative lyrics at all, or? Yeah,
so, and tell me if I'm, like, going too far ahead.
No, you're fine.
So when he is saying the first verse, it's dark and there's no windows, you know, where he's saying, like, I'm fairly local, I've been around, and then he's like, I'm evil to the core, you know, all that stuff, it's, like, dark. And so I kind of think that represents, like, you know, us, like, pre-salvation, right, when we're still, like, walking and doing, like, worldly things, but then as he's switching, there's, like, always a window. When Josh is drumming, there's always a window, but when the second verse comes, when he's actually fighting it, there's no window. It's just that red light, right before like the Blurryface voice comes in. So I was like, oh, that's so interesting. What I did see though, even though there's not a window there, there's a door. And I think that's like the door that Josh walks through. And so I kind of feel like, and this is one of the verses I brought up, so tell me if it's your 1 Corinthians verse. But I was thinking of 1 Corinthians 10:13, where it talks about...
So close, but no.
We were joking because we both said we had Corinthians verses, and we were wondering if it was the same one.
Yeah.
But the one I thought of was 1 Corinthians 13, where it says... 10:13. Where it says, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear, but when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Yes, and that's what I kind of viewed the window and the door as, is kind of like, because even when we're saved, even after we do turn away from like our sin, we still are able to sin, we're still tempted, but God always makes a way. So there's always the door, there's always the window. Even when Blurryface is like getting you, you still have a way out. So I thought that was kind of like a hopeful tone in like an otherwise really dark video.
Yeah, and that ties into Vessel. I forget which song mentions the window and like having the way out. Is that Migraine? No. Or am I thinking of
it's holding on to you. Or wait, when the windowsill looks really nice, right? Is it holding on to you?
I mean, yes, that has a windowsill, but I'm thinking of, it might be Not Today, where it's like, shoot, I forget the lyric is it, but it's like basically describing how the window is like a way out. It might be Not Today.
I can't remember.
Spoiler alert now.
Yeah, further on in the album.
Yeah. But now I've lost what we were saying.
We're just talking about the windows in like the first verse, the first main chorus.
Mm-hmm. I think that was mostly it.
yeah, I think so.
I'm sure someone knows what song we're referring to. But then now I'll bring in my next note as my verse.
Yes.
So the pre-chorus, this is the part where we see Tyler hidden, and he's like behind... What is that? I don't know what that material is called, but it's like not glass.
Oh, he's behind that like glass.
Yeah.
And he's backlit. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
And it's just a shadow. That part's so cool.
And so I brought up 1 Corinthians 13:12, which says, for now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, then I shall know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now I'm forgetting what he's singing at this part, but it connected really well.
It's the first part where he says like, this song will never be on the radio, even if my clip were to pick and the people were to vote. Yeah, because that's when he like does the knock. It's so cool.
Yes. And tying into how like similarly the industry might not be able to see like the full value of leaning into like eternal perspectives, but it's still more important. And I thought that visual kind of emphasized that as well.
Ooh, I like that.
And then I also noted for this part in this image how it also is showcasing how he can't get through to the people who are closed off and those who are bulletproof. And there's kind of a divide there because they're not trying to think or analyze things the same way.
Oh, I like that. Because there's kind of like that divide. Like, and I'm even thinking of...
Like he's trying to reach them, but he can't.
Yes. Yeah. And there's really that... Like, it makes me think of the verse where it talks about, like, how the gospel salvation is, like, foolishness to those who, like, don't believe in it. Like, there's a veil over their eyes. Like, when, like, when you hear about God, when you hear about Jesus, and that's not, like, part of your worldview or, like, you're not in it, like, it sounds crazy to you. And there's, like, that separation that's so clear that you can't get through. You can't even, like, see through it. That's interesting.
Yeah, so that's, like, immediately what I thought of with that visual. And then I forget what this visual was as well, but the last thing I noted was how when he says the few, the proud, and the emotional, something lifts upward. Is it his hand? Something.
Oh, yeah, he does this.
Upward.
He does his little hand.
So I was like, that also, like, to me, it was like upward, looking upward thing.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
But did you have any other notes for that part?
No, not for that part.
Okay.
I did think it was interesting. Well, I guess, sorry. Yes, I do have something for that part. I was like, no, I don't. Here I go. when he knocks on it, you know, it goes with the beat. Like, I really like when he does the knocking.
Yes.
But I was wondering if he's really trying to get through, you know, like, is he safer on that side of the glass, or is he trying to get out of it because he's knocking, you know, not very hard. Like, I wonder who's really trying to get through, like, which direction. I thought that was interesting.
That is interesting. But I almost wonder if he's just knocking to have them, like, open and come over. Ooh. Otherwise, I feel like it'd be more, like, pounding, like, get me out. I can't get it. It didn't seem very, like, urgent or...
No, it wasn't. He was...
But
like, he was messing with them.
Yeah. I do really like, though, how he always does things that are perfectly on the beat in their videos. So I just like all those little things.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily mean much, but I love them. And then for the chorus repeating, I just noted that he shifts from the light to the dark, kind of what you were saying already with the window, and how it goes along with the lyrics throughout that part.
Yeah.
And then verse 2... What do you think is with the drums flying away?
So, I was going to ask you that. I hoped that you knew, because I noted it. Because we were talking about how Josh is that steady presence, and the drums are flying away. I wonder if it has to do... Because it starts right before the second chorus, or sorry, the second verse. You know, when it's red, when Tyler's, like, battling against Blurryface before... Blurryface kind of takes over, and so I wonder if the drums flying away kind of signifies, like, being tested or being kind of, like, knocked down, you know, when you're in, like, a time of temptation, like, where you're going strong. Or I'm even thinking of the verse where, you know how it talks about, like, the parable of, like, the soil, where, like, if the word falls on good soil, it grows, but, like, sometimes for people, the worries of life, like, choke the plant in the soil, you know, or, like, the ground is rocky. Like, things happen, and it can, like, discourage us. And so I wonder if the drums flying away are kind of like, or even, you know, you could even say, like, the enemy, like, trying to, like, attack you.
I could see that, like, it being a test of, like, what are you gonna do when even the things that you rely on the most for hope are, like, taken from you.
Yeah.
Because I feel like Josh's steadiness does literally come from the drums.
Yeah. And I do think it's interesting that if you think of it that way, he's getting attacked, quote unquote, at the same time that Tyler's also getting attacked. It's kind of in their own way.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so interesting, because that's what happens for believers. It's like we all have our different things that we struggle with. We all have kind of like those weak points that we like need to rely on God extra for. And when we're kind of in those vulnerable points, that's where we like fall, you know.
Yeah, which also, like, I feel like one of the things we know about Josh is, like, I feel like he's used the drums to, like, find comfort, especially with anxiety. So I think that also makes sense, metaphorically.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. See, we got something. We came up with something.
For sure. It's just more fun coming up with it together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so like you said, this is when Tyler's in the red room. Do you think it's the same hallway, or... I wasn't sure because of the door, I guess I was confused.
I couldn't tell because ceiling, like, kind of above him, it looked a little different. But I'm not positive. So it definitely looked like the same building, like he's in the same area, but I couldn't tell if it was the same hallway or not.
Not that it's like a big deal, I was just curious.
I know.
Nuggets coming up.
Oh my goodness. Oh,
she like,
jumped
look at my
right
pooch
in front of the camera. She's like, oh my gosh, guys, give me a break. I know what the drums mean. Okay.
Yeah. She's like, I heard Blurryface was coming, so I'm concerned.
So funny.
But I noted that as he starts, like, fighting Blurryface in this scene, his eyes are closed at first, and it almost feels like he's fighting possession in this way before Blurryface takes over. Which is interesting, because I feel like closed eyes are normally the opposite imagery for them, but...
Yeah, like being asleep versus being awake. That's interesting. I mean, I wonder if it could be a sign for prayer. You know, like, close your eyes, bow your heads, like, that could be. And, I mean, he's also... Because I feel like that second verse is so powerful. Like, I love it so much. And he's saying, like, no, I'm not these things. I'm going to do something differently. It's like he's speaking truth over himself, even when he's confronted with that, like that past or that like inner kind of like, I don't know, that inner voice is trying to steer him wrong. And so I think that's cool. Like, you can tell he's really trying to fight it. Like, he's not trying to give in.
For sure.
Yeah.
I love listening to you.
I love listening to you.
It's like, oh, we're in English class.
Like having our discussion.
Yeah. I had a additional thought. Yeah, I feel like that also makes sense because with Josh's makeup that I mentioned before, like there's very much a theme of like avoiding temptations that you can see. So I guess in that way, having his eyes closed makes sense thematically. And then he touches his neck, which I feel like means Blurryface is like choking him and then like takes possession of him with the contacts and everything.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting. It's cool because, you know, during the Blurryface era, he always had that black, like, black on his neck and on his hands. And I think that ties in really nicely with, you know, the way he's, like, reaching for his neck. Like, that's where Blurryface has him. It's also interesting, too, because I do think you're right. It really does mirror kind of like, oh, like, possession, or, like, he's choked. He's holding his head up. It kind of seems like he's, like, drowning or like water is coming up.
Yeah,
like that's kind of the image I get too, where he's trying to keep his head above the water. And I think
that reminds me of
that's
songs.
what temptation can also feel like.
Yeah, like, oh Lord, the waters have risen to my neck. I forget which psalm that is, but
yeah, that's a good connection. And it's kind of sad because that's really what it feels like. You know, when you're kind of like in a desperate place, just even in just suffering, like nothing that you've done wrong, but just when you're in a dark place, or when you have like messed up and you're kind of like faced with the consequences of like, oh man, I feel like far from God. Like you aren't actually far from God. He never left you, but like you perceive that kind of distance where you feel like you're running away or turning away. It definitely feels like that kind of urgency.
Yeah. And then I noted, I feel like my voice is going. I noted that he opens his eyes with the red contacts in contrast. Yeah, just kind of reiterating the same thing. And then the lights flicker and go out after this scene ends. And it kind of feels like the light is literally extinguished because he's taken over.
Yeah. And what I will say about, like, just to wrap up that scene before we start talking about the light, like we were talking about how we like when he does things on the beat, even though it doesn't mean anything. My favorite part of this video is when he has the red contacts and he looks around, like, with the drum beat. His eyes, like, look to the left and right. I think it looks so
almost
cool.
Yeah, I was watching that. I was almost like, I feel like he's emphasizing, in case you couldn't tell, his contacts.
He's like, don't you see? Don't you see what we did for this video? I think you're right. I was like, I don't even think that means anything. I think he just wants it to look cool.
Yeah, I don't blame him. They probably cost a fortune.
I know. He's like, this is the budget, is just these contacts.
And then my last question is, why do you think, it seems like Josh is kind of in this blue color scheme and Tyler is in a red color scheme. Do you think that means anything? I know those were like the main, like, more so regional at best colors.
Yeah. It is interesting because I did note that Josh's hair is red and Tyler's beanie is red, and so they constantly have that like connection even though they're in separate rooms.
Yeah.
And I took that to mean just, you know, it's the color of the era and they have like the red throughout. But it is interesting if you follow that train of thought, like even though Josh is in a blue room, he still has like that connection to Tyler. Like they're still kind of tapped into each other in that sense. And maybe you could say that the fact that his is a different color also kind of signifies that they're battling different things, even though they're in it together. Like it looks differently.
Yeah, that's true. I genuinely was curious what your thoughts were, so yeah. I appreciate the insight. So then going into another repeat of the chorus, there's his lighted mic comes out. I love his lighted mic.
Okay, that's another thing that also looks very cool. What did you make of that? Like, what do you think it signifies?
I just noted that it was in the midst of the snowstorm that started, and kind of how the darkness is not dark to him, but the light still shines in the darkness.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, I think I didn't understand. I don't know. I don't have a theory about how you said, like, the light from the lamp, it goes out, and then the microphone comes back on. I don't know what the lamp means. Do you know what the lamp means?
No.
Okay.
But, I mean, isn't there a verse about, like, the eye is the lamp of the body? Didn't I talk about that with Josh's makeup?
Yes, it does.
So,
yes.
another lamp.
Yeah, totally, lamps. And it also is, like, your word is a lamp unto my feet, a light onto my path. So it is interesting, though, that it goes out, because I was like, that's interesting. But, so I don't know the connection from that, but when the light goes on in the microphone and then he starts singing into it, like, I took that as, like, that's how he is fighting back, is, like, you know, Josh is drumming, Tyler's singing, which I think is, like, very much, you know, how they, like, express through the band and through the music, like, they have their roles. Yeah. But also, I really took, like, kind of following, you know, the window, like, the light through the window, kind of being, like, the spirit, the hope, the, like, God providing a way out for you to endure temptation. I think the microphone is really turning that around, where it's become, like, a testimony. Like, he's saying, hey, this is where I came from. These are, like, the streets. I see the streets you're walking down. But now I've kind of found this new thing, and I'm following Jesus now. And he's using the microphone to, like, tell people that. I thought that was kind of cool.
That is cool. I feel like I would have said the same thing. So great interpretation.
Yay!
But yeah, I feel like the doubt that Blurryface zone, like, comes along and extinguishes the light. But I was thinking of that when you started asking about the microphone, of like, well, you were talking about the window earlier, and if that was the spirit, it, like, went into the microphone then. And even has that redemption for the music itself too, which is cool. Yes.
And then Tyler and Josh are finally in the same room, right?
Yes.
Or you get that sense. Yeah.
And then I think another drum flies away.
Yeah.
So we're in the snowstorm, more drums are flying away. Yeah, and I kind of what we already talked about just with that. I was like, is the coal, like, breaking their resources and continuing to, like, yeah, kind of this test of, like, even when you have very little, like, will you still be able to be faithful and trust? And they do.
Yeah.
And then I noted, this is the funny part with Tyler's, did you guys notice that Tyler smiled? And I was like, was he supposed to?
It's so funny to me because the scene is so dark
because
that you almost miss it.
Because to me, I was like, the hat is engulfing this man in, like, suffocation. Like, and then all of a sudden he takes it off and he's grinning, and I'm like,
and it's so funny.
Are you just genuinely smiling, or are you supposed to be, like, going crazy? I don't know.
Yeah. No, it's cute because it looks like he's genuinely smiling. And
then after that, isn't he, like, taking his coat off or something? And he's still smiling.
Yes, he is. Okay, well, because I just think, oh, it's fun. They're having fun doing their music video or whatever.
Josh wasn't smiling.
No, he wasn't. Dude, they crack me up. No, it's so hilarious. You guys have to see it. Hold on. I'm going to find the timestamp because it's wonderful.
I was like, I feel like I just witnessed a mistake.
Yeah, you're like, was that the shot that was supposed to
I sent a video of me analyzing it to Lexy.
Yeah, it was so funny. We were talking about it.
I was like, maybe.
Oh, yeah, it's at 2:54. That's where he smiles.
Okay.
And he continues to smile. You know what I will say, though? I thought it was kind of cool because I kind of took it to mean, like, that he has come out of something hard.
I was going to ask, I was like, did he persevere, LOL? I literally wrote...
Oh my gosh, in all caps, LOL. That's so funny. But what I will say, like, he smiles, and then immediately he takes his jacket off, and I kind of took that to mean, you know, like, joy of the Lord, like, nothing can touch me, you know, like, if the Lord is for us, who could be against us? And also, when he takes off his jacket, I love this part, so he, like, takes it to the wall, like, he's gonna hang it up, he holds it against the wall, and he just lets it go, and it falls to the floor. Yeah. And I kind of took that to mean, like, you know, I think, like, this song is, like, kind of about battling sin and temptation, even as a Christian, and it's, like, we we really do, though. We're a new creation. We have, like, taken off our old clothes and we're putting on, like, freedom in Christ, salvation in Christ. And so I thought it was so interesting that it's almost like he's trying to hang up his, quote, old clothes, but there's not even anything that it can hang on, and so it falls down. Ooh. And I thought that was a nice picture of, like, our old clothes. You know, just, like, we don't need them anymore. Like, you don't even need to keep them around because you, like, have found this new thing. And I also think it's interesting that, like, the snow on the ground and in the building, he's clearly not, like, affected by it anymore. Like, he's not cold. Like you said, that he just is like, I don't care, I'm not cold because I have something else, like, sustaining me. I don't need my old stuff. I think it's kind of cool. And that makes him happy.
Lexi's taking over the podcast.
No. The only reason I have any of this to say is because I've listened to you, like, talk about all these things. I'm like, I never thought of it that way. So every different episode with Anna, I'm always like, dude, I gotta look at every little detail. I gotta, like, pull something out.
Yeah, that's awesome, though. I really like that idea of, like, didn't even have anything to hang on. Like, that was the best thing you said. Yeah, and then I just noted the same things. But similarly with taking the coat off, I feel like he's overcome the cold. And, yeah, Dima, what's the line? Dima don't control us?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Which, foreshadowing, it's pretty much the same metaphor.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good, though. And
I wonder, because they said their new album's gonna, like, tie up the storyline, I wonder, or wait, is Blurryface not part of the storyline? Because I was like, I wonder if Blurryface would somehow get woven in again, but maybe not.
I wonder, because I know that there's a connection with Blurryface in Trench. You know, like, I'm thinking of the jumpsuit music video, like, you know, where he gets his black paint. So I know that, like, you know, Nico and all of them, like, tie into Blurryface somehow. So maybe that's how it'll get looped in.
Okay. Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see.
We'll see. Did you have any other notes on the song, or?
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered it all. Did you?
I did not.
Okay, sweet. I feel like we got some pretty good analysis going.
Yeah, for sure. Any thoughts on the song as a whole? I know we didn't originally get to record, like, the lyrics, but any, like, value you have for the song?
Ooh, I love this song. It's definitely one of my favorites. It's probably my favorite off of Blurryface. And I think this song really reminds me of one of my favorite verses, which is from Romans 7. But it's kind of where Paul is talking about how the things he knows he's supposed to do, he doesn't do. But the things he knows he ought not to do, he continues to do them. And he's just kind of really wrestling with that. And I think this song is a really good reflection of that conflict that every Christian struggles with. It's like we're never going to be fully immune to, like, falling back into, like, sinful ways until we're literally on the other side of heaven, you know?
Yeah.
And so I think this song is really encouraging in that way. And just like we were saying about Tyler using the microphone to kind of tell people, like, hey, I've been there, I've done that, and there's something better out there. I think this song is really also a nice way to reflect, like, a testimony. And when you're kind of telling people, you know, just, like, what God has brought you through and how things aren't really better without him, but they're so much better with him.
I love how you got so much about testimony out of this song. I feel like I never would have on my own. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. What about you? What does this song mean to you?
I mean, I still, like, I just think of my project where I was, like, doing the opposite analysis.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh. But yeah, I think it's also comforting to just remember all of the commonalities we have with other people, even in our different struggles and sins and walks. I think it's easy to feel really isolated in our struggles or to feel really abnormal. And I was just speaking on mental health on LinkedIn because World Mental Health Day just happened. Oh, yeah. And something I feel like I want to remind people all the time is, like, as you're working through whatever it is you're working through with mental health, like, just know you're not abnormal. And I feel like that was huge for me, and a reason that I felt so isolated and struggled to heal for a long time is I just felt like, oh my gosh, something's just, like, extra wrong with me.
Yeah.
And so I like that this song is really Tyler's ode to, like, having seen all these various people in so many different countries and locations and knowing that they all struggle with the same things.
Yeah. And I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I actually had a bracelet. It was like one of those like rubber bracelets that said the few, the proud, and the emotional.
Oh, really?
And that line is also, that line is very iconic. Everyone, like, during the Blurryface era, that was like on everything. Oh, that's so cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my bracelet like broke because it was like years old. It was like rubbing off and stuff. But I think that line too also really means a lot because like you were saying, I think being human and being imperfect is really something that like connects all of us because you'll never meet someone that was perfect, right? Like Jesus was the only one. And so I like too that he says the few, the proud, and the emotional because that's kind of a play on like, the few, the proud, like fighting and fight by feeling. I don't know. That just really resonates with me because I'm just such a feeler and I know you feel the same. But I really like that line too because he's also really normalizing all the complex emotions that come with this kind of struggle for believers or even unbelievers who are just struggling, with like, I don't know, what does this all mean? Like, I'm in a tough place. What do I do? And that's what connects us. I think that's really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have any other thoughts of like what that phrase means to you? I know I talked about that a bit last time.
The phrase, the few, the proud, the emotional.
Mm-hmm. Or even just like for the fandom or.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to put into words. It really resonates with me, I think.
I think it's also just sorry, I totally
stole
your moment after I just asked.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go ahead.
I feel like just the idea of like the few, it like immediately makes you feel like, oh, like we're given this special feeling. And like that's the truth. Like we all are special.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I think, too, that reminds me of songs like The Hype, where he's kind of saying, like, my people know. Like, my people know what we're talking about. I know that in Leave the City... that song also makes me cry every time. The very end, where he's talking about how, like,
oh my gosh.
EnTrench, I'm not alone. These faces facing me, they know, right?
Oh
I feel like that connects. And dude, I remember
the
first time. No, I'm gonna cry just talking about this. The first time I saw 21 Pilots in concert ever was during the Bendito tour, and they sang that song. And I remember he was singing "Leave the City," and during that part, he said, "EnTrench, I'm not alone," and he said, "Your faces." Instead of these faces, like to the arena, he was like, "Your face is facing me," and I just burst into tears, dude. I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's me! I'm a face!" Like,
Yeah.
But I think it really does, like you said, it makes you feel special, and also it just makes you feel seen and understood.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's why this music resonates with people like you and me and everyone listening so much. Is it's like, oh my gosh, he just put language to like this super complex feeling I've been feeling. And I don't know.
But also, cool. Like, he just made you feel something that God feels about us. Like, nothing could be more important than that.
Exactly. Like it's just a reflection. In both of those songs,
it's like, I see you, even when it's, like, the end of a concert and you're sad. Like, I see you.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you're so right.
Spoiler alert. I think I'm supposed to say spoiler alert before.
Before you say Oh my gosh,
Spoiler apology.
Yes. You're like, my bad. Just rewind, but don't. It's too late.
You'll just have a deja vu later on. It's fine. Hey, if you want to do that song.
Yeah.
We can cry together.
Oh my gosh. We're going to be like, you won't even be able to understand what we're saying. We're just crying.
This is going to be me analyzing all of Trash.
You're going to be like, I'm sorry, guys. I just need a second.
Yeah. Me, like, crying once, analyzing Kitchen Sink, me crying every single episode in Trash. Man.
Dude, that song also makes me cry. Oh. We're really just going into, like, so what? That should be, like, a question. Tell people when they want to, like, email you, like, what episode you want to do. Tell me your memories. Also, when have you cried? 21
Well,
Pilots.
I feel like I need to ask questions because people probably know more things than me. Like, how many episodes have I cried in? Because I don't remember.
You could do, like, a trivia or, like, bingo. It's like, how many times does Nugget, like, make an appearance? Yeah. How many times do I cry?
How many times have you heard Nugget meow?
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny.
That would be fun, like a little bingo.
Yeah, it'd be perfect.
Friends.
So much good content that's gonna be coming out. It's gonna be great.
Lexi's gonna make my bingo board. Well, any parting words? I'm gonna miss you.
I know.
I'll never talk to you again.
We only speak to do this.
We haven't spoken in a year.
Just kidding. We text all the time. Well, not all the time. I'm really bad at responding. My bad. But also,
I text all the time.
Text.
Yeah. Nugget text.
But it's so bad. Like, Anna you'll text me like multiple things, and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I'll respond soon. And then it's like days later, and I'm like replying to
everyone
5.
because I am very stream of consciousness. So I'll just be like going about my day. Oh, blah blah blah, and then go about my day. Like, I've had friends I've like texted so much over a week just because they were busy, and I didn't even know I was texting them a lot because I just like dip in and out when I think of random things.
I love it though. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. But this was fun. I loved doing this video with you.
Yes, I loved having you. I loved all the insight that you brought. So thank you so much for joining me.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
So I want to hear from you, and Lexy wants to hear about your bingo recommendations.
Yes. And also tell me when you've cried at a concert. Yeah. So it makes me feel less alone.
I too have cried at a concert. So we want to know your written account of your 21 Pilots story, or your favorite memories, or how many times you've cried at a concert. You can email EnTrenchPodcast@gmail.com. You can also reach out with an episode request if you want to analyze a song, a music video, or an album with me. Even if you want to like analyze track 5 off the future album that we don't even know yet. But yeah, you can also contribute to the analysis we've already covered by joining the podcast Facebook group by searching EnTrench Podcast Group. Though I'm not going to lie, I feel like no one uses Facebook anymore. But that's okay. If you would rather contribute on Instagram, you're also welcome to do that at EnTrench_pod. And you can find EnTrench on Podbean, Verbal, Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon Music, or wherever you somehow found me today. So, tune in next time for Tear in My Heart. Oh, that's going to be a good one. Yeah, you always sing. Thank you so much for listening, friends. Stay alive and remember, EnTrench, you're not alone.